high rental and labor, highly sensitive consumers, and you also have a highly competitive battleground. So why are all these new players, Tim Hortons, Luckin Coffee, Kopi, Kenangan, why do they still want to come in? Are they not scared of becoming the next Flash Coffee? The rise and fall of coffee chains in Singapore. Is this the new norm? From an online poll by BT, about 77% of respondents expressed skepticism about the long-term sustainability of new coffee chains in Singapore. While coffee is a booming industry, both long-standing establishments and new entrants are struggling and shutting down outlets. We are also simultaneously seeing an influx of Asian brands entering Singapore and making strides. Why are these contrasting trends happening here? Let's dive into some online comments and find out why the local coffee scene is blowing hot and cold. So we have a comment that says most F&B businesses are not profitable anymore with high rental, manpower costs and overheads. So many have passion but will not survive for long. So is rent really killing all these coffee chains? So just to be sure, Spinelli hasn't publicly addressed the issue and Flash has said that it wants to focus on its more profitable markets. If we look at all of the costs that the businesses are incurring, rent definitely is a huge cost. When I spoke to the investor that bought out Flash Coffee's Thailand business, they actually said that rent is always a huge component of these businesses and it weighs a lot on profitability. So that's also part of the reason why the Thailand market was so attractive to them. It's an easier control on costs and easier path to profitability. Flash Coffee's strategy in Singapore was quite unique compared to the traditional coffee chains. So basically what they were doing was like the bubble tea kiosk model where they take up very little space and you don't really have dining in. So will I say that rental is killing these coffee chains? I wouldn't boil it down to just that one factor, because bear in mind there is also raw material cost, supply chain cost, manpower cost, and all of these other overheads. We have someone who says hawker center coffee shops are still surviving. Also another person who's saying that the local brands are better nowadays. I have to admit I'm also quite, I love my Kopi, I love my Desi. So I guess what they're really trying to say is that the local coffee and heritage brands are quite high quality and quite popular. That makes them really hard to beat. Maybe it'll help to contextualize what exactly the value proposition of chains like Flash Coffee and Kopi Kenangan and Luckin Coffee is. Basically, they want to serve the middle segment that want premium brands but also at an affordable price. So I'll give you an example. In Taiwan, where Flash Coffee pulled out of in 2023, you can actually get quite decent coffee at your convenience stores, and these are your freshly brewed ones. There was a market researcher that did a study in 2021. They're called EOL Group. They found that out of all the sampled consumers who didn't repeat their purchase at Flash Coffee, 72% just bought their coffee at 7-Eleven. So that's the reality of it. The 7-Elevens, your local Kopi aunties, they are actually quite tough competitors. There are a lot of comments talking about the rapid expansion. One person said the problem was the unit economics wasn't profitable. They were expanding very aggressively. Another person talked about just not understanding how they can get $1 million funding. Over the last few years, about $370 million went into Southeast Asia's coffee chains, these sort of tech-enabled ones. Most of the money actually went into blitzscaling. So is blitzscaling really the downfall of all startups? Is it true that if you expand very quickly, you're just doomed to fail? The background is this rapid expansion model was started by a company called Luckin Coffee, which everyone is familiar with by now. They were founded in China. They raised insane amounts of money. They even overtook Starbucks as the biggest coffee chain in China within just 2 years. But in 2020, there was this massive fraud scandal. So the top executives were found to have faked about 2.2 billion yuan in sales. A lot of things happened very quickly. Luckin was forced to delist. They went through this whole journey of restructuring, right? They overhauled the management team. There was an aggressive stock take of all of their stores, and they also looked a lot at profitability, right? They had to cut the discounts, they had to realize what are the higher value customers and how to manage the store operations. In the end, the business actually managed to turn around. So now that they've turned profitable, is it that they aren't blitzscaling anymore? Well, no, because if you look at Singapore, they entered just in April. They already have 30 stores. The key point is that you are able to grow quickly, but at the end of the day, you must have sound business fundamentals and you must have profitability in mind. We have some comments on the stiff competition causing people to fold businesses. So someone says, wow, who next on the list? Another person says there's a geographical issue in that Flash Coffee is doing insanely well in Indonesia. So I guess the question is, why are new entrants like Tim Hortons, Luckin Coffee still wanting to come into Singapore? Are they not scared of becoming like the next Flash Coffee? A lot of capital flows through Singapore, and a lot of investors are based right here. Compared to the rest of Southeast Asia, you can get more revenue per customer. You have people with higher purchasing power. You are in a country where people just love drinking coffee, right? It powers nations, it powers productivity. If you are a foreign player coming in and you can establish a foothold here, it's almost like a badge of honor. So we are going to see more investor-fueled coffee chains competing with each other. Will this result in a price war? At the end of the day, the consumer prevails and the consumer wins because we get cheap coffee and we get to choose who to buy from. As you can see, there are a lot of things happening behind the scenes, and the success and failure of coffee chains, whether you're a traditional coffee chain, whether you're a foreign player, whether you've been around for a long time or if you're a tech-enabled player, is actually down to a lot of different things, not just one single factor. So in the coming months, we're going to see a lot of competition between all of these coffee chains in Singapore. And if you have any questions, just leave it down in the comments below and BT will try our best to answer them.